Mockingjay is the third and final book of the Hunger Games trilogy. I have really enjoyed this series because one, Suzanne Collins, I think, in my opinion, is a great writer. She knows how to attract the teens and the young readers and adults too who read the Hunger Games series. And the Mockingjay movie came out last Friday, November 19th, and on the Friday it was a premiere. A lot of my friends went to watch it, but I didn't want to go before I finished the book because then it would just be spoilers. You should do that too. It's a great idea because movies kind of give out everything, while in the book, while you read it, you can kind of feel it and you can imagine it, and then you can interpret, oh, what was different about the movie than in my mind and whatnot. So in this cover, there's a Mockingjay. This Mockingjay kind of looks creepy. But the tune I did in the beginning of the video was the tune that Katniss whistled and then the Mockingjays whistled back. And this sign is a sign that District 12 people use. In the book, they use it on the left hand, and in the movie, they use it on the right hand. So there's really no right or wrong answer, but I guess that doesn't matter. So this means like, I admire you, we love you, we care about you. So like, in the Hunger Games, when Rue died, Katniss did this, right? Which means that peace, I admire you, we hope that you have a good time in heaven, or whatever. So that is the meaning of this symbol. So Mockingjay was actually kind of interesting. I saw a lot of my friends talk about Mockingjay. They said I hated the ending. Like, what was the ending? They're like, but Mockingjay was still the best movie because it had all the actions. And it's just part 1, so there's another part 2 coming. And the particular thing about Mockingjay is that there's 3 parts to it, which is kind of strange to me. The first part is the ashes. And then part 2, the assault, and then finally part 3, the assassin. I think it was kind of cool how it had 3 parts and this series had 3 books. Pretty sure that had no relation. But still cool anyways. So there's a different, all these parts connect, but there's a different summary for every single part. And I should probably tell you that. So the first part is kind of like the introduction and kind of like the replay of Catching Fire. So they mention about District 12's burning and how at the end of Catching Fire, Katniss realized that they were using District 13 as a new army base. And then part 2 is a little more in-depth to the story of Mockingjay. It introduces the new characters that are gonna die and love and all that stuff that usually comes out in the Hunger Games. And the part 3 is the saddest moment of this whole trilogy. Lots of people die, and all the people that you think are important and who you like die. So I'm like, wow, that kind of sucks. And it's very emotional, especially in the epilogue, and there's a one-page epilogue. But if you read that, it's actually very emotional, and I kind of wonder how Suzanne Collins, who's an adult, got teens to express these emotions. So let me talk about Katniss. So personally, so there's Gale and there's Peeta, right? And Gale has been Katniss's friend ever since they were little, and they're friends, and then Gale, and then they liked each other, right? Then they say they're in love. Sure, we'll figure that out in the back of this book. And then there's Peeta, who she met at the Hunger Games. He was a very shy boy, and he didn't know a lot of skills. He wasn't strong or anything, but he was smart. So he used that to survive the Hunger Games. And then they bonded over Hunger Games because they had to go again in Catching Fire. So they spent several years together, and they bonded, and then Peeta started loving Katniss. So now Katniss has 2 guys on her side, but personally, I don't think she deserves any of them. I'm sorry. I just don't like Katniss. I like Jennifer Lawrence. She's very pretty and she's very young, 24. But she does not deserve Gale or Peeta. First, let's go with Peeta. There's a lot of reasons, because first, Peeta did everything in the Hunger Games and Catching Fire just so that he can get her affection and her love and her attention so that she could live. He sacrificed his life for hers, even though first they met as strangers. And Gale, he's always been there for Katniss, and he's never let her down. They've always been hunting buddies, like, and they made jokes with each other, they took care of each other. And I guess on that part that Katniss kind of deserves Gale, but then if you read all of Mockingjay, you'll understand why she might not deserve Gale. But she definitely doesn't deserve Peter, which is kind of how I'm mad about the ending. I don't want to tell you. Spoiler alert. I hate spoiler alerts. So, I think that there's a lot of lessons in the Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay. But after watching or reading all these people die, all the important people die, I've kind of realized that this whole series is based on Katniss, and just Katniss. It's based on the battle between Katniss and President Snow. And President Coin is new president of the Rebels. And there's a lot of characters that are introduced and, again, made more important than they were in the past two books. For example, Plutarch. Well, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He was first kind of like the enemy of them in Catching Fire. However, he became the new rebel leader of District 13, which is why Katniss and Gale and Peeta all worked with Plutarch. And then there's Boggs, who is the general and commander of Katniss. So how this thing works is there's a propo, which is what they use, what the word they use in the book. It's a propaganda. So what they do is it's like a movie kind of like a TV show to show the district what's remaining of District 12 and 13 and all the other people that don't want to follow President Snow and President Coin. So they make something. So Katniss is kind of like the hero of all the districts because she survived 2 Hunger Games, which is pretty amazing because barely anyone survives even 1. Everyone dies. Sad. But, so everyone looks up to Katniss. However, she did some pretty bad stuff, and there's this rumor that says Katniss is the reason that District 12 burned down. So that brought down her reputation so much, and she's not popular anymore. However, President Snow Katniss is President Snow's first target because she's the only person that's actually a threat to him and who doesn't follow his orders. So that's why Katniss kind of gained up the bad reputation, like notorious, not really famous. So she films propagandas with Gale and Peeta, and there was also a propaganda with Finnick and Annie getting married for just for entertainment purposes. And these propos are meant to show the rebels that you can go on, you can endure this. It's kind of like to how do I say this? Give them strength and give them hope. Because the wonderful Katniss Everdeen, the miraculous Peter Millark, they're both combining power and they're convincing them to stay with them. Because President Snow has everything they need. He has shelter, he has money, he has food, he has clothes, he has everything. But what he doesn't have is very good leadership. And Katniss wants to show the rebels that I have leadership, you follow me, and I'll give you what you want, your freedom, right? So these propos have been going around for literally all of the book. And it's kind of sad, my favorite characters die. I'm gonna tell you one of them, okay? Just because I saw this one coming. Cinna, he dies. And you can kind of predict that Cinna was gonna die somewhere in the book because of his actions in the Hunger Games, actions in the Catching Fire, and his actions in Mockingjay. It was kind of obvious. He was always defending Katniss. He was going against President Snow. Come on, who couldn't have predicted that? And there's one other character. I loved her. She was very wonderful and young. She was very close to Katniss. That's all I can tell you. Pretty sure you figured it out by now. And I didn't drop any tears reading this book. The reason is I've grown up. 13 now, I'm a teen. Yeah. So, I was about to cry during this book though, because it's Suzanne Collins. I don't know how old she is by now, but I'm pretty sure she's not a teen. And to write a book that makes teens get these emotions is kind of amazing. She's like Veronica Roth, one of my favorite writers. I think those two are my favorite writers. Authors. Sorry, my bad. So, I am going to go watch this Mockingjay movie and then tell you how it sucked compared to the book. Because the movie always sucks. So, may the odds be ever in your favor. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving and Black Friday. Got this and pajamas. So, may the odds be ever in your favor. Thank you, turkeys, for sacrificing your lives for our enjoyment this year too. And the next year, and the next year, and the year after that, and so on. Rest in peace.